Sure, sure, definitely. Hardeep bhai, welcome to the session. Good evening.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Good evening. Good
Yeah,
evening.
we have Dr. Bhakti Vaishnav who will be moderating today's session.
Oh, nice. So nice of you. So
Yes,
nice of
please, Bhakti Didi, take
Yeah.
over.
Good evening, all. As we already know that today we have discussed few things. So some of you already know, and it was discussed in the group also. So today we are going to talk about, rather listen to a talk on pre-romantic thinkers and background of romantic era. So Dr. Hardeep Singh Goyal is going to deliver this session to us, and he has been teaching at as an assistant professor at Gujarat Commerce College, Ahmedabad, for so many years. We have already had one session by him on postmodern poetry, so we know him so well. I'm not going to take much time on it. So I welcome sir. Sir, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Uh, First of all, uh, thanks a lot for inviting me for this session, and it has gifted me with whole lot of time to prepare, rejuvenate myself for already learned thing. So many things were there, but this session has given me the beautiful chance to prepare myself for this wonderful session. Uh, I would thank the entire alumni association who handed over me this chance to bring out this topic. First of all, without hesitation, I would begin with the very sad note of the day that you people must have came to know about, that there is a one NTPC dam in Uttarakhand has been broken down, and so many of you must have felt very bad about the incident that has taken place. Today is our lecture, unfortunately or fortunately, is on that same topic, same note, that is related to man versus nature, and going back to the nature, and then how this process has started, how it took place in case of literature, especially the English literature, which we are learning since so many years. So with this note, I would like to start my note on the pre-romantic poetry. You people must be informed earlier. uh, a kind of initiation of industrialization in the Western world, and the reaction of the first initial reaction of the humanity against this kind of inhuman approach towards the nature. And in that case, these poets came forward and they contributed wonderfully. In a sense, they have rejuvenated the entire generation of the illuminated minds, whether it is William Wordsworth, John Keats, Coleridge, Byron, Shelley, you name any. They were gifted because of the hard work and the labor that these poets have put upon to think and to rejuvenate the entire generation about the new way of thinking. And I would be happy that if you can connect the contemporary events with this themes that which we are going to discuss today. And one of the poet, I would say that he has made indelible mark upon my mind since my childhood. And today, fortunately, we are going to discuss one of the poem that is there in this discussion. Without wasting your time, I would like to begin with this, as my bad habit is, you have to just find out this two stanza from the two different poets, and you have to tell me what is the difference between the both. First is, we think our father's fool so wise we grow, and our wiser sons no doubt will think us so. And second stanza says, the child is the father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. Now, I would like to ask, begin with the question as I'm generally doing inside the classroom. Both are about the child and the father's relationship. But now tell me, who is who and what is what in these two stanzas? I am giving you how much time do you want to think about this stanza? Bhakti madam, how much time should I give for analyzing these two lines?
Okay, I think Nitin Bhai is saying the first one is from the tables turned.
Mm, mm. But now, see, you people are brilliant enough, but now, we are going one step ahead. That is what is the crux of this poem. That is what I would like to discuss right now. And yes, Nitin Bhai is right, absolutely right. This is from the table turned by Alexander Pope. Yes, and second is from now, see, from the Rattabaji, we will go to the concept clarity. That this is very bad habit of mine, that I was not a good Rattabaj. So in my case, pardon me for the Rattabaji. Yes, Wordsworth. And
Sir,
the
may
name
I
of,
speak something?
yes, obviously, gentlemen, welcome.
Sir, the first stanza is by Alexander Pope, and
Hmm.
in the first stanza, the poet is trying to say that there is a difference between the two generations, like the
Hmm.
father and the sons. Like they
Hmm.
believe that the old generation is outdated, they are not updated with the new knowledge.
Hmm.
So the children, I mean the new generation, consider their previous generation as the outdated one, while
Hmm.
the second stanza is by Wordsworth.
Hmm.
Well, in that it is said that the child is the father of the man. So here
True.
we can find that there is no generation gap. I
Hmm.
mean, equality, we can find the equality. I mean, the one who has, the child can also, equal to yeah, the younger person.
True.
If he
True.
knows something, if the child knows something, then we can also learn from the child. So these both stanza are contradictory, I think.
Okay. Good. 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 Contradictory. One idea. Anyone else? Anyone?
Shall I speak something?
Yes. Obviously, Parvai. Obviously, that
Uh,
is that is the task. That we have
yeah,
to do. Yes.
I feel in the former stanza, which is by Pope, there is a sort of respect and admiration for the ancestors,
Hmm. Hmm.
and somehow the younger generation, which is full of new ideas,
Hmm.
uh, is not appreciated in a way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
say that our wiser sons, no doubt, will think us so. So, like
Okay.
today, if you think your ancestors are fool, tomorrow you also will be considered a fool.
True.
Uh,
True. True.
while in the second stanza, which is by Wordsworth, the child is the father of the man. So
Hmm.
there is a sort of welcoming sense for the younger generation, or for fresh
True.
thoughts, freshness in thought.
True. True. True.
Yes.
So in short, Parthbhai, you want to say something like that? If I could grasp your interpretation of this stanzas, that first says is first one is in the negative tone, whether it is scolding or satirizing or
Uh,
didacting in tone.
yeah. Yeah. In a
Correct?
way. Yes. Yes.
Okay, and second one is celebration of the even the smallest thing of
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. Howsoever immature the fresh thoughts may be, but
Yes,
they are welcome.
yes, Chirag bhai. It is equality in all. A kind of rejuvenation of thought you can feel. Am I right? So absolutely right and wonderful. I'm happy that at least I'm communicating with 2 3 people, those who are illuminated and they are really thinking fast, because it
Second,
was yes,
yes,
Nitin bhai.
yes, sir. I would not like to tell about the first one, but for the second one, which is written by Wordsworth, the
Hmm,
first line itself is defamiliarization, because
hmm,
the child is father of the man. When
hmm.
we read it, easily we cannot accept it, because it's totally against the nature, because child cannot be the father of man.
Uh, See, uh, it's a romantic idea. It is an eccentric idea, and one has to accept this idea because anyhow, some child, there would be some child who has become our father, and we would be somebody's father in the time to come. So that is, a kind of eccentric way to look at the thing. But here, Nitin bhai, that poet wants to say. Let us begin with this, first thing, didacticism, and then the rejuvenation or the celebration of the smallest thing in the life, equality in the life. That says that, see, we need to, celebrate natural piety in our life, not instead of, just defamatory, making people away from our perception that we are the right person, others are the wrong. No, it's not like that. Others' reason can also be right. Say for example, that is the matter of art. That we celebrate everybody's opinion in the case of celebrating the art, and that is what is the Renaissance age. This romantic poetry is all about. I come back to the point that first stanza, you people have rightly noted, it is from the Augustan poet Alexander Pope, and you people know that what the age was, didacticism, and the entire, you can say, about a focus about the civil societies and all. And the second one is from the height of the Romantic age. So in between the both ages, Augustan and the Romantic, there lies the pre-Romantic poets, and that is what is we have to learn about. We have to focus about the entire process that has changed this tone of the Augustan, the major poet of the Augustan age, with the kind of the height of romantic element in the highest celebrated poet of the Romantic age. Then now to convert this tone and the method of speaking, what changes have taken place and what requirements were there, that is what we are going to study in this session of the pre-Romantic session. Now, along with that, Nitin Bhai, if we go by the technical aspects, the first stanza by Alexander Pope is in iambic pentameter, if you remember. That is, that you can say the rhyming and strongly fix in the pattern of speaking. Whereas the second line, second stanza by Wordsworth is a kind of freedom of expression that you can celebrate. And that is what we are going to see, that what changes took place, that the voice of the poet of the age got that much of freedom in the case of expression. That, as you have said, Nitin Bhai, I have brought this example that child is the father of man. You must have seen, you can remember it with the example, Jasoda Maiya is asking the Kanhaiya to open the mouth. Then she was amazed to watch the entire universe in the mouth of the child. So this is what I perceived from the idea that child is the father of man. And then let us move, start clarify about the term Romanticism. The first, let us understand what is the term Romanticism all about. It has, in the F.L. Lukács research, it got more than 1,100, 396 definition. And he says, he talks about the, when he used to talk about the decline and fall of the Romantic ideals in 1948, he could find the approximately 11,396 definition about the Romanticism. I won't disturb you all with all these definitions, but let us go by the significant thing. That if we go etymologically, it has the root in the word called Rome. And in 7th and 8th century in England, linguistically, kind of three divisions of language was existing in Europe, particularly. Number one, lingua latina, and you people must be knowing that it was the language of scholars. Right now in the world, those who are knowing English, in case of our third world, they are considered as the scholars. And in those days, during those days, in Europe, those who used to know Latin used to considered as the scholar. In case of Francis Bacon, we have the wonderful example that non organum, though he was the father of English essay, he wrote his significant work in Latin. Why? Because he wanted to establish himself as the scholar in the entire Europe. So that is one of the reasons. Second is, lingua barbara. And that is, the word itself reflects that the barbaric language. And Germanic tribes, especially those, Angles and Jutes that made the English, or that resulted in English, came from these Germanic tribes, and they were, inheritors of the lingua barbar. Third is lingua roman and rustica, you can say. That is the group of vulgar and peripheral traditions that were discussed in this third category of the language. Now, this third category of language was never celebrated in Britain till the Romantic age. During the Romantic age only, this lingua romana rustica is getting the significance with the efforts of the German and French people, those who have researched, especially Madame Stedel, they brought out the kind of link between the lingua romana rustica and the European, that time, the literature of that time. Let us move towards that. We can have this, that you can see on the right and left hand side of your slide. There is a wonderful photograph of Madame de Stael, who introduced German Romantic literature to the France. And you people must be knowing that Germans were very much happy to have exposure towards the Sanskrit literature. In the case of Goethe, you people must have been taught inside the classrooms of especially the comparative literature that he used to dance on the streets of Germany while reading the Abhignan Sakuntalam. So that Romanticism from Germany reaches to the France around 1800. And then in case of France, Victor Hugo, one of the most favorite author of mine in case of La Miserable, as you can see on the right hand side of the slide, one of the most significant work of the world literature. One should have the familiarity with this before calling ourselves as the good, well versed with the literature of the world. This is one of the significant work. He also said that Romanticism is equal to liberalism in literature, and in multiple ways, as as Nitin Bhai has rightly mentioned, that it is a kind of languorous kind of freedom. That what Marlowe did for the kind of drama in Renaissance age, the same thing has happened in the Romantic age. You must be knowing that Marlowe's multi-line in the case of age of Elizabethan age or age of Shakespeare, that it was because of his mighty line that William Shakespeare became that much popular while walking on the path, prepared by Christopher Marlowe. Now, in case of this, romantic was the first time used to describe the painting with the certain bizarre quality in the 17th century. So until now, those who have the blurred vision about the romantic literature, for them, I have brought certain pictures which will help you people to understand what is the essence and the ethos of the romantic literature. Why? Because actually, this romantic term itself came from the painting, and especially the significant painters, if you can see their paintings, you will come to know that yes, this is romanticism. Instead of having only theoretical knowledge about the thing, I would like to have a practical grip of the aspect. Now let us have this Francis de Goya's May 3, 1808. Kind of revolutionary, as you can see on your screen, that revolutionary is standing at the center of the entire painting, you can say roughly, and the soldiers are ready to shoot on his, in his chest, and people have been killed. They are lying, and on this painting screen you can see, and the women are screaming, and he is boldly standing against the the atrocity of the monarch, or you can say the rulers. Now, in case of painting, it gives us the spirit to struggle, to fight, to stand against the authoritarianism of the monarchs of that time. But at the same time, in case of literature, when we find it, the voice of Shelley, Byron, and Keats, especially Prometheus Unbound and all, we find the same such spirit as that of the same person who is standing in the center of the painting, that to fight for the humanity and to bring, to illuminate the humanity with the light of the heaven. And the same thing is being reflected in this Francis de Goya's painting, May 3, 1808. It was painted in 1814. Now next, Haven by John Constable. It is one of the most significant painting, that nowadays very few people would be having the value of this painting, but for the first time when I saw it, my maternal, house was somewhat like that. Then it make me remember that place. Now you can see that Haven is standing in the, a kind of rivulet thing, and this bullock is carrying the cart. And the essence of the nature, you can see that it is being reflected by the shades of color during the early 19th century. You can say 1821 it was painted in. And it is one of the masterpiece of romantic paintings. Those who can understand the poetry of, I wonder like a lonely cloud that floats over high over hills and wells, they can find out the clouds and the painting and the words of, the poet that may have been inspired by such kind of location and such kind of scenery that they have been visualizing every day in their life. And that is why the specific purpose, the reason I have brought this painting, so that your concept should be clear that what is tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what kind of atmosphere and surroundings should be there that inspired the poet at that much higher level. Next is obviously Songs of Innocence by William Blake. As you can see that it's a wonderful painting on your screen, and it has been painted none by other than William Blake himself. And if a poet was so much immersed in painting, then his poetry would be also a kind of painting that we will see at the end of the the last phase of our lecture. Parthbhai, you please kindly let me know when my time gets over.
Yeah, you still have 20, I mean, more than 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Now, with this practical example, we go by the theoretical examples. Now, in this painting, why I have brought this painting particularly, you people can see one word that is wonderful, that is boy full of joy. Can you see that, all of you? This is a boy in the arm of the mother nature, you can say, and there are ships, lamps, and they are playing. And this is painting as well as in the lyrical pattern that the William Blake is bringing out. And for the movement of time, I would like to have you all to remember this thing, that why this thing I have specified over here. Parthbhai, can you see the picture with the proper significance?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Clear.
So, thank you. So these are the significant points that I would like to begin with, and then let us move towards the comparison of the Augustan age with the Romantic age, so that you can revise both the ages from the particular point of view of NET-Set exams. So those who are preparing this age, keeping in the mind that what happened with the this Restoration age, Puritan age, Augustan age, and Romantic, and what is about the pre-Romantic. This is the the graph through which you can remember and revise the entire syllabus within a minute or so. So this is the Augustan age. On the left hand side, I begin with, just kindly focus upon there is the importance of the reason, balance and order, moderation and convention and rules. As we could see, we think our fathers fools, so wiser we grow. There was a reason, order, moderation, convention and rules. But whereas the child is the father of man, it says the importance of the feeling and intuition, sensibility, access, freedom and spontaneity. That spontaneous flow of powerful feeling. Next, on the case of Augustan age, there is a control of emotion and imagination. That emotion is also under control and imagination is also under the control. And it is having the rational thinking. Now you would ask me, sir, what is the rational thinking in we think our fathers fools, so wiser we grow? So I would like to, you people are mostly from the Saurashtra, Kathiawar. So I would like to remember you one, proverb in our Kathiawar that is, used to say, people pan kharanta hasti kupadiya amviti tamvitse dhiru bapulia. Isn't it? You people must have heard about this poetic stanza. So same thing, the didacticism is there in the We Think Our Father's Food. Then in Romantic, it is says pre-play of imagination and presence of supernatural element. Now, as this Nitin Bhai has rightly mentioned, yes, sir, how can a child be the father of man? So that I brought the photograph of Sri Krishna. Why? Because it is a supernatural element that Romantics do believe in. Then third aspect of Augustine is children must be disciplined and civilized. That this is the way, uniform and disciplined. This is the way they should behave. In case of Romantic, children are sacred, being the closest to the nature, creature of the God. That we say that children are the incarnation of God. It's Himself, and so the source of creation. And adult learns from his childhood and experience. Poetry, as far as the fourth aspect is concerned, poetry is seen as the aesthetic expression of the social order. That that whatever is happening in the society should happen inside the poetry, something like that. Nothing new, nothing inventive. Poetry is seen in case of Romantic as the expression of the soul and celebration of the freedom of nature and individual experience. You can say that "O Wild West Wind, Thou Breath of the Autumn's Being" by Percy Bysshe Shelley. That it is a celebration of the individual and expression of the one's own idea. Then poet as the spokesman of the society, that he is having the official role to play. And here he is a prophet, that a kind of philosophy is there inside this poetry of this poet. And he is also a creator. That is a big word that has been used over here, that a poet is a creator. Now, why I am emphasizing upon this word? Because you as a teacher in the future to come would be a creator, and being the administrative high official, you cannot generate a one young person eligible to your own qualification. But being a teacher, you can produce thousands of collectors and commissioner and all. So poet here has been identified as the creator. Now in sophisticated artificial language, you have to write everything, and in case of here, language is a typical to a common man. This is the significant difference, that it comes very close to the common man, and it is focused about the message and content rather than the form. That as Nitin Bhai said, it is in black verse. So it is for the first time that poet is focused about the message and content. Now, why we don't get it? It is very clear, very near to the common man. The reason is that we are finding ourselves difficulty with the English language. But in actual sense, the language being used, applied by the Romantic poet, are, is very much near to the language of the common man. Then, in case of Augustine, society is the first, whereas in Romantic, individual rights are the of priority in comparison of others. Importance of the light, you can say in case of Augustine, symbol of reason and enlightenment and all the things. But here is the importance of the magical and supernatural elements, that heard melodies are sweet and unheard are sweeter. Something like that. These supernatural and magical things are given the importance over here. Nature is seen as the mechanism or controlled by the strict laws or, that deterministic ideas. Here, nature is living creature. That is not NTPC dam of Uttarakhand. It is a river that is flowing continuously. Man lives in the communion with it, with the nature, and that is why the pantheism, that can be asked in the NET exam, one of the term is being applied for the Romantics. I hope the things are clear over here, so I can go further. Next is the mise-en-scène of Romantics. You can say the background or backdrop of the Romantic poetry. that why this all of a sudden this we think our father fools came to the child as the father of men. First reason is the American Revolution and the Declaration of the Independence that took place in 1776. And I have mentioned rightly one of the significant event that is called the Boston Tea Party, and India's role is also being found over there because that tea was supplied from Indian tea, tea farms to the America, and that tea farm and the tea colored the or instigated the freedom struggle of America, and you have the entire Boston Tea Party that succeeded in the independence of America from the Britain. So that is there in 1776. Following that, French Revolution. You people must be knowing that if America has revolutionized itself, then the spark reaches to the France as well. Then France, you know it very well that monarchy has been removed and the common man came at the center. And in case of significant other non-literary writing, if you people want to explore more about this age, two books I would like to mention. Thomas Paine, Rights of Men. For the first time, somebody is asking about the rights of man in the case of literature, or you can say the literary field, the you can say the Augustan, you can say the literate people, that there should be certain right of man, M-A-N. It is not in plural, it is in singular. That means it is universal. In case of that, it is asking about, or you can say the precursors of human rights, that even the smallest person in the society have to have their own rights. Whereas the second book is William Golding's Inquiry Concerning Political Justice. The same age, same dates, you can say that. Both books, this William Golding's The Inquiry Concerning Political Justice, people, students may ask me, sir, why it is important? It is very much significant. Why? Because it has the greatest impact upon the mind of William Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Charles Lamb himself. So these books are becoming that way most significant in case of understanding the changes that took place in those days between the Augustan and the Romantic age. And they are produced and published during the same period of time only. The third significant aspect after American Revolution, independence, and French Revolution, the third aspect was and is the corporate venture of the joint stock companies such as British East India Company. That raw material of the colonies reached to the colonizers, and they produced the finished product and started selling it into the market. Why these dates are important? I must tell you that I had been living inside the army cantonment, which was built by the Britishers in 1784. The oldest barrack of British Army in India, nearby Nagpur, there is our army camp. So by connecting both the things, I can tell you that it started giving the kind of raw material to the British companies, and they started producing or manufacturing their products. Due to that, the nature was disturbed, and that disturbance of the nature instigated the poets of Romantic age. Another best example to prove my point correct, James Watt's steam engine replaced the water and the source of water and wind as the source of energy. Now, why I'm mentioning this? Say, for example, literature is not being produced in the vacuum. And if you think that our Rattabaji is going to earn us mark by just clearing exam and all, I would say that you can pass the exams, but in front of the students, you would be nothing. Say, for example, if you are not knowing why this work has been produced, in which circumstances, until and unless we are not justifying the soul of being a teacher. So this becomes very important, very much important, that James Watt himself introduced the steam engines, engine in the same duration of time, and then industrial revolution started getting instigated. And you can find out this is the quite nearby date of, War of Bengal, when India was defeated, the Nawab of Bengal was defeated, and that Battle of Plassey itself. So this is what we have to connect according to the new historicism. Now next is the the next project is economic depression of 1815. That Britain also went through the economic depression, and due to that, working class had to suffer a lot. The rich people were always enjoying their life, but as we could see during the corona period, only laborers had to, or working class had to suffer a lot because of that pandemic. In the same way, the political, economical, and social factors that went against the lifestyle of the working class, and that caused the kind of agitation or riots against the, you can say, the monarch or ruling class that happened in the France, that happened in the America. And similarly, the people or the poets of the Romantic age also get inspired by this mood of the people around. Then it was having the repressive attitude of ruling class, as we have discussed already. And this aspect of circumnavigation of Captain James Cook becomes very much important. Why? Because he was for the first time reaching at the southern hemisphere of Indian Ocean, that is particularly Indonesia and Australia. And some of the other islands have been for the first time circumnavigated by the Captain James Cooks, because Indian citrus food gave the longevity to this, you can say, the navigators, and due to their ineffective health, they could travel that much longer. And then it is the circle of the exploitation and colonial market, that we know that even at present, the dense forest of Indonesia are the most stupid example of humanity, that we are eliminate our own existence by removing the nature, distancing ourselves from the nature. And day by day, this is not my own word, the three-time Pulitzer Award winning economist of the world, very well renowned economist of the world, Thomas Friedman, also said that humans are committing suicidal attack by eliminating or removing the forest of Indonesia and Bali. Then next is that democratization of the literature. Now, because of this, all this, muddling, one thing happens, that literature as the expression of humanity becomes democratized. Why? If you can see the theme of these poems, characters of the poems, as well as the language of the poem, they all are focused upon the common man. Now, let us move by the examples. Let us understand the examples themselves. First of all, the prominent poet amongst the prominent poets, James Thomson's and his The Seasons in 1730s, which says, I quote, "Converse with the nature there to harmonize his heart." He gives a kind of, that conversation for the first time with the nature, and there to harmonize his heart. The new look at the nature. For the first time, anybody has mentioned in his poetry. And that was in 1730s. Mark Akenside, in his The Pleasure of the Imagination, he in 1744, he is for the first time is declaring, that importance of the imagination. Right? Because if you don't have the imagination, then you would be a prosaic poet like Alexander Pope and Dryden, very dry in your way to express your thoughts. He, in that sense, is called the forerunner of the William Wordsworth, who wrote in the next age to come in his turn a kind of, very much imaginative poem. And we will, and you people will be familiar with all these poems. Then Joseph Morton, his significant work is The Enthusiast. In that case, this poem brings out, Rousseau and his, primitivism. That this William Blake's the songs of innocence, that they are attracted towards the antique things. They are always is there any voice problem, Parthbhai?
Yes, I was not able, I mean, many are now saying there was 2-3 minutes gap in between. Cracking, voice
Okay,
is cracking.
okay. Is
Yeah, but now I think now it's
Now
clear.
it has returned. Yes.
Yes, yes.
okay, okay. Do let me know. Inform me by this message system. Yes, thank you. So, in case of this, Rousseau's primitivism and love for antique has been celebrated by Joseph Warton, and in case of William Collins, the Ode to Evening, uh, you can find out the he is the precursor of all the odes written in the next stage by John Keats. That it is talking about the for the first time natural phenomenon like evening has been addressed by the poet, and that gave the guideline for the great poet like John Keats to write about the ode on the Grecian urn, and all such kind of odes are getting germinated from the ideas of William Collins. Thomas Gray, one of my favorite poet, whom I celebrate the most. In case of your teaching, also, I will not spare my time for him because the elegy written in a country churchyard is for the first time is bringing out the attention towards the nature and the humble life. Say, for example, he says, I quote, "The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd winds slowly over the lea. The plowman homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world to darkness and to me." Now, this, since, that when I read one of the history book of, during my college days, since those days, this lines, the beginning of the elegy written in the country church had become my favorite. One of the expression, say, for example, you can see that still it is having the iambic pentameter. The pattern is there. It is hardly taking freedom. And why I am focusing here, asking you people to have the clear-cut observation of this thing, that it is not totally romantic and it is not totally anti-Augustine. It is somewhere in between. It is having the structure, as we have discussed earlier, that what is the difference between the Augustine and the Romantic. It is having it is following the pattern, it is following the rules, but at the same time, the subject and the theme that it is discussing is somewhat different. A kind of, yes, translation. Nitin bhai, you would like to have the understanding of this, that it is curfew. Curfew is the bell of church. That it says that day is over. That when the church bell is ringing in the Christian village, then it is the day that is going to get end. Then lowing herd, it's a kind of imagery that you have to imagine, that the herd is going on like a wind over the lea, or kind of the land, and then the plowman homewards plods his weary way. That plowman means a laborer, you can say, in the farm. He is now tired, because the whole day he has worked very hard, and now he's tired, he's weary, he's coming back to the home and leaves the world to darkness and to me. Now, the churchyard, and the place where the people are buried, he leaves the world to darkness and to the tomb of somebody. And this is for the first time is bringing the imagery of the nature with that much of freedom in the stringent rule of iambic pentameter. As you can say, that day and way, Leah and me, Lee and me are rhyming together, but it is having the wonderful imagery. Being in the rule, strict rules, and expressing your imagination is quite difficult. And that is what successfully Thomas Gray has done in Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard. So I would say that it is a significant point. Second is William Cowper, the task. Task is also one of the significant work of art, and those who are interested must go through the task at least once to see how he is also applying the language, which is having the nature and concentrating upon the common man's theme. Robert Burns' Tam or Center, 1791, as we have already discussed, it talks about wonderful theme of the nature, and he is still, as I have mentioned earlier, he is still following the pattern of the Augustan age, the strict way of rhyming and all. But one thing that is most important that you people have to learn from Robert Burns, the future poets inside the classroom, is that uh, you can see the lyrical application at its height in case of entire English literature. No poet can be compared with Robert Burns in case of lyrical pattern, and in that case he's the master. And I would say some of the critics and the historians have also said that he is perhaps the universally the highest lyrical in his presentation or the ideas. Now let us see what he is writing. I quote, "But pleasures are like poppy spread." That poppy is, how it is spread. It is in the case of garden. You seize the flower, its bloom is sad. That you take away from the plant, and then the bloom is out. Say for example, so fragile is our pleasures of life are, or like a snow falls in the river. That as the snow is falling inside the river, snow, say for example, for us to, it is difficult to imagine, like that easy example of flower you people must have learned, that you cull the flower of especially champa, as we have the around us the champa's flower very easily. So when we curl it, it would be blooming, but after 1 hour it would be dark. That white flower become gets dark immediately. Why? Because the lifeline has been disturbed. And same thing is about our pleasure of life. That the moment you try to capture them, it is sad. Similarly, the snowfall in the river, a moment white, it looks white for a while, but then it melts forever and it becomes one with the water of the river. Similarly, our pleasure in the life is there. And that is the first time that such lyrical expression of the poet can be observed in the case of English literature. And that is what I would say all of us that should remember Robert Burns all the times all about, that he is the highly lyrical in his expression. Next is that his intimate portrait of agricultural life, that this is the unique sentence that he has given in his one of the poem, that an honest man is the noble work of God. That came from Robert Burns, and I do respect him especially for this sentence. And this is what makes him very special. And next, you can see that variety of his writing, the poem, that that lyrical expression and the lyrical experimentation of Robert Burns, you can observe from here. That my love is like a red rose. Oh, my love is like a red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like a melody that's sweetly played in tune. You can find the kind of lyricism in the odd voice like mine. But if you listen it with the good poet and the good reciter along with the music, it becomes really a kind of melody. And now one of the as the time is clicking, I hope I have 5 minutes at least, Parthbhai.
You have 5 minutes more, sir.
Okay, thank you, man. The most significant of the pre-romantic and the last poet, William Black, to develop the faculty of vision, that he is writing for the developing a vision of the reader, and that led men to see and understand, act accordingly in favor of nature. Number one, he has been also labeled as the anarchist, anti-Christian, and shattering the established cultural traditions true to our own imagination. That he shatters all the traditional way. And the reason behind is that he was at 18-year-old when he observed the American Independence War. Along with that, after a few years, when he was growing up, he saw the French Revolution, a number of battles that he could see that made his personality very much unique in case of all the pre-Romantic poets. He also contributed a number of writings which are immortal as in the contemporary time. Dan Brown is one of the most favorite, popular novelist. You must have heard about, this Da Vinci Code, the novel. He has written a whole, a unique novel by the Lost Symbol, and the name of Lost Symbol by Dan Brown is focused upon the poetry of William Blake. And that is the significance of his vision that he has given to the world of literature, that even in the 21st century, the most popular, popular fictional writer is utilizing his symbols. He gave the new form to the poetry, and in most of his poetry, you will find the four layers of meaning: literal, moral, allegorical, and anagogical. Number one, literal means, say for example, if there is Jerusalem, it is a city. Second, moral, it is city which represent the struggle, continuous struggle, as we can see the West Bank and Palestine are still struggling for. It is having the church, if we go by the allegorical meaning, and anagogical, it is the city of the God. Next, William Blake's songs of innocence and songs of experience are most important for us to understand. Now, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield is highly influenced by William Blake's this poem, Songs of Innocence, especially the chimney sweeper, where a little boy in the factory is being exploited by the people, and how the God comes in his dream and gives him the vision to enlighten himself and get himself fresh. So this is one of the significant poet, I would say, that has not only influenced the Charles Dickens but Dan Brown as well. And next to that is Songs of Experience, Sick Rose, and London, and the Tiger, my favorite. Now next to that is that Little Lamb, Lamb as a poem. If we can go through immediately without wasting our time. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee fade by the stream and over the mead. That entire life of lamb has been discussed over here. And he also discussed about the making all the wells rejoice by the vision of the lamb. And at the same time, he is celebrating the innocence of the animal kingdom. Next to that is my favorite, Tiger, and I would take only 2 minutes to finalize this poem. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hands or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry. Now, mark this word, the last line of the stanza, could frame thy fearful symmetry. In what distance deeps of sky burned the fire in thy eyes? That he's marking song of experience to the tiger, that who has the courage to have the fire in your eyes, who has put this fire, as we have discussed earlier, that little lamb, who gave thee the life and bid thee feed and gave thee such a tender voice. Here it is, the poet is asking, who gave the fire in your eyes? On that wings dare he aspire, what the hand dare seize thy fire? The fire. Who has the dare to come to you, near by you? And what shoulders and what art could twist the sinew of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, when dread hand and what dread feet? What dread hand and what dread feet? When when your heart began to beat, it is very much difficult to imagine what will happen next. What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grass dare its deadly terror clasp? Now, when the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Now, see the question, the last two questions are very much significant. Did he smile his work to see? You know, the God who made the man, or you can say the industrial man, smile his work to see after industrialization? Did he who made the lamb made thee? You know, that now he's asking the direct question to the, you know, to the tiger of industrial revolution, that who made the innocent lamb has made you, you know, that cruel animal like you, the industrial revolutionaries. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hands or eye dare now, instead of could, now dare thy fearful symmetry. So that's the end. I would not take much time of all of you. Uh, I hope that this gives the idea to understand the what other contributions we could find in case of this poem, you know, that brought the significant change of poetry from the we think our father's full so wise we grow to the child is the father of man. So I have tried to bring it very close to you from lamb to tiger. If there is any question, so I would welcome all the questions. Please, madam. Thanks a lot.
Participants are requested to post their questions, please. Yes, of course, you could always send your observations, or if somebody wants to add to something or extend the discussion, because basically this time is meant for interaction.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, sir. In between, in one slide, while you were comparing Augustine and Romantics,
yes,
one
yes.
word came that is also pantheism. So,
Pantheism. Yes.
will you tell something about that?
Say for example, exactly. I hope we are on the slide. Am I right?
Yes, PR.
Uh, See, we had Aryabhat. You must have heard about the name of this uh, experiment with the tree of Lajamani. You must have experienced this or came to know in during your childhood. I came to know during my childhood. You know, in the maths and science, I never came to know about that. You touch the tree and tree is closing its petals and little Lajamani, the tree of Lajamani. I don't know the exact similar tree in the plant in the English culture, but in India I have seen and I have experimented personally that when I touch, immediately it closes. It withdraws itself from the blossoming pattern of the tree. And why I am telling you, I am giving you this example because this is a practical example which I have started believing in pantheism. That even the tree has a life. Everything around us, even the little spade of grass, has a life. Now you would ask me the question, why, sir? That why you are always coming back to the Indian traditional way of thinking? Because one thing is for sure is that we may have the good degrees and laurels in English literature, but upbringing of our mind and the pattern of our memory system works in Indian pattern. And Indian mythology, without failure, I must share it with you, that we are the most gifted students of literature in the entire world, who are gifted with such a humongous mythology. And in case of Europe and America and other world, people are not gifted with this humongous mythological background. And that's why I'm bringing this pantheism very close to you. Now coming back to this point, that that Narsi Mehta once said that Vrukshma bijatu bijma vrukshatu anantapase tu hari, isn't it? The same thing, same thought. I need not to explain you the Narsi Mehta's poem, but at least this way of thinking the British poetry reached in the 18th century, with the help of such romantic poets and pre-romantic poets, that the churning of the thinking make them realize that okay, there is a life in the nature. When they started having the industrial revolution, industrial way of exploiting the nature, then they came to know, okay, we should have the respect for the nature. And that is what is the basic difference between the Augustine and the Romantic. Say, for example, in case of Augustine, they, that is not their weakness as well, but you count any Augustine poet who was living in the rural background, or they had time to go and look back to the nature, or in the rural life, discuss the rural life. No one was there. And if they are not going to the nature, near to the nature, how they would realize that, okay, this is also a kind of significant part of our own self. But it was experience in India since years back that, Abhigyan Sakuntalam is also reflecting, if you remember, that when Sakuntala wants to go to the Dusyan, then the wells and trees of ashram are clasping her feet and arms. When she is crying, the nature is also crying along with her. And as I have mentioned about the Madame Stade, in case of, if you are well aware that I discussed, I put the point on the left-hand side corner that Madame Stael also mentioned that she brought the Romanticism from the Germany to the France. So that thing, that thinking about the nature very close to the human being, somewhere is with us, reach to the Germany and reach to the France accordingly. And if I'm not wrong, I have the evidence that it influenced the Goethe at the highest level. And from Goethe, entire German scholars started having the respect for the Sanskrit literature, and certain things influence. And as I mentioned, you can search out on the Google. You people are free to find out that how Madame Stael influenced the French Romanticism, and then accordingly from France it reaches to the Britain. Yes. Any other question? I hope Nitin bhai, my answer reaches to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I here remember the words of late Professor A.K. Singh in one of his lectures. He told about theories that all these theories can be extracted to Bhakti and Shakti movements.
Yes.
So in
Yes.
the same manner here in Augustine we can find about Shakti, while
Yes.
in Romantic we can find about Bhakti.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sir, there is a reminder by Millie Jetwani that you had asked people to remind you of about William Blake's painting.
Yes. Yes. So are you people interested in looking towards his painting?
I think at least Millie is.
No, not Millie. I am asking about all. That don't we are not justifying her demand. That I would
Everyone is saying yes. I think chat box is getting flooded with yes, yes, yes.
it's very simple. And I would say that you people would be amazed that you people never tried. It is very simple, that see, plethora of painting is there, but most significant paintings, if I can show you, are like this. Say for example, that God is having the hand upon the earth. Then again, a kind of metropolitan, and you can say the kind of heavenly being are giving the child to a sleeping lady, in case of that you can find out in Helena and all. Then you see the scream, the most modern poet or the painter has brought out the scream, and scream is the predecessor of this painting that is in front of you. He was, I would say, he was a magnanimous poet as well as the marvelous painter. As you can see, that that the kind of fairies, in case of that Midsummer Night's Dream of William Shakespeare, are dancing, and it was painted by none other than our William Blake. So I hope you people will explore more than what I can say. आप सब मेरे से भी ज़्यादा आराम से ये सब देख सकते हो, and I should bring out the cover page of Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience, so that you people can. I hope, madam, I have time.
Yes, yes, we are open for interaction.
Okay, so meanwhile, if you have any question, please anybody can ask. This is Songs of Innocence, and this is the the cover of the book that he published. Wonderful painting. You can see that it is entirely natural. That as if the branches of tree have been given you the symbol. Wonderful, and this is my favorite painting, and I would like to see you, show you that in the detail. It's a wonderful thing, marvelous. If you people get bored, do let me know. I would immediately stop myself, but this is something of my liking that I like the most. This is Tiger. Uh, since my childhood, I was supposed to remember this whole poem, and you can see that how it is written, beautifully written, and has been put in front of us. You can just see to it. Tiger is standing below the bough of the tree, and then entire poem. And this is the actual. Huh? This is not my art. This is art of William Black himself. This is how he used to write the poetry. That's why Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hands have I?
I think I might be wrong, but what I saw from the paintings and the poems that we have read,
Yes.
something comes to my mind that he can be, though we say copper and gray are the perfect example of transition, but I think there is this subconscious and very omnipresent motive of him is that the conflict which represents the transition from Augustan age to the Romantics. Because if like the paintings that we saw, there is this leitmotif of the sense of getting liberated, the sense of spiritualism, that the sense of having somebody taking care of all of us, the basic idea of idealism, that the spiritual anchor is always there, and even the shackles bound on the feet and hands of the person, the painting that you described as the predecessor of the Munch's scream. I
Yes.
think it's very interesting to look at it from that point of view, and probably Blake also can be considered a very foundational person to bring in the transition, or
Shall
maybe
I say something, Bhakti Didi?
yeah, please, Parth.
Yeah, so like there is this another aspect of Blake, just to add to what you are saying, uh, which I have come across, and that is Blake writing on Industrial Revolution and the late 18th century London.
Yes, that I
So
mentioned. I mentioned in one
yes,
Yes.
of his
yes,
poem. If you see that I have mentioned,
huh.
and why I skip through, because time, you
True, true. Time
one
is a
cannot
major. True, true.
You did
see.
mention about, I mean, you tried to
Yeah,
explain the metaphor of tiger and the industrial
yeah.
revolution.
There are since Hardeep Bhai is taking the toil to go to Google and search. If I can request you, Hardeep Bhai,
Ji,
uh, to find out this poem, "The Sick Rose," and another short poem called "London."
Yeah, he
they
has
both are
mentioned it. He
both are with me, and if you
Yes,
want to listen, I can read it out. If not on the internet or Google, we find
yeah.
it's hand itself. If you can
Both are
listen.
beautiful short poems.
So not only short poem, I would say they are quite illuminating. Say for example, the comparison of them is nowhere else. Say for example,
Hmm.
uh, I have skipped the chimney sweeper himself. That itself.
Yeah.
The chimney sweeper is also one of the. Say for example, if Charles Dickens has been influenced for uh,
Hmm, hmm.
his
True.
novel writing fiction, then you can see. And even Dan Brown is the person who, on his fiction, name of his fiction, the bullet trains have been started in America.
True.
And
True.
that Da Vinci Code. And
Yes.
if he is influenced by William Blake, then I don't think even the William Shakespeare's bullet train have ever passed through any railway roads. So that is the greatness what I found in William Blake since my childhood. It may be my passion, but one thing that we have to appreciate in him. Say for example, in most of the the celebrated literary artists in English literature, history of English literature since our education of the bachelors, only those who were orthodox or a kind of follower of Christianity are being given the significance. If you see that, impartial or being unbiased or, secular of the reading the histories, that only those who are following the Christianities have been given the importance. In case of Christopher Marlowe and in case of William Blake, have been marginalized. Why? Because they voice against the entire so-called canon of the English literature, and they have been suppressed, somehow. But if you see that, the person is painting as well as writing a poetry, who else have that much of that way of thinking? In case of William Blake, Partha, I would say that he was the
Mm,
person
mm.
who had read the history on his own. He found out the meaning of the histories of mankind on his own, and
Correct.
then he
Yes.
then he interpreted, and that's why he was not against the Christianity, but he was used against the misuse of Christianity for the
Mm,
sake of benefit of the few people only.
mm, mm,
Say
mm.
for example, certain class used to exploit their happiness on the name of Christianity, and that is where William Blake had a problem. That's why he had, and this is the rebel. That you can say that poet must be a rebellious. A poet who is, a sycophant. I don't consider him as a poet. Why?
True.
Because the basic element of being poet, that is a freedom of expression, is not within him. He is a
Mm,
sycophant. You
mm,
know,
mm.
that the King George the Fifth came and somebody recited the song and that becomes what not you people know. But this is not a poet. I don't consider him as a poet. Poet is a rebellious person, and
Mm.
he would not be having the good terms with the governance or the authority of the society. And William Blake is one such poet. And from Chimney Sweeper, I'm reading, when my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me while yet my tongue. Means when I before I started speaking, my father sold me to the company holder. Could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimney I sweep, and in suit I sleep. In a kind of this the coal of chimney I sleep. That is what a chimney sweeper, a little child, is crying in Britain of 18th century. Remember, no human rights was there, no child labor was there, and this rebellious poet is asking about the human rights with the help of a poem. Next, as you have rightly mentioned, the sick rose. Sick rose says, I read, O rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night, in the howling storm. That is, the fly will come to spoil the innocence of the rose, had found out thy bed of crimson joy. That is a kind of symbolic for the human man female relationship, as well as between the fly and the rose. And his dark secret love does thy life destroy, and then this fly destroys the beauty of the rose. That is what sick rose is all about. I hope, Parthbhai, I could justify your inquisitiveness about the sick rose.
Yes, yes, surely.
And London.
Another, I don't know if it is very far-fetched, but the sick rose could be the nature,
Yes, yes,
uh,
obviously.
Earth, Mother Earth, for instance,
Hmm.
and at a deeply connotational level, this worm could be, the 18th century London.
London,
Uh,
as well as entire humanity, I would say the
greed of
ambition.
the human.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Certainly,
greed,
yes, yes.
absolutely. And then London, I read. Just have a minute or two. So if you find it problematic, you can point me out. London, I wander through each chartered street. Now, each chartered street. Now, chartered accountant, we have this word amongst us, in the contemporary time. So, chartered, what does it mean? We don't know. Even if you ask to the chartered accountant, CA, that what does it mean by it? They would not be having the idea. But Parthabhai, thanks to William Blake, I came to know for the first time chartered has a very negative connotation. Very negative means in London, all the streets were given on the rent or sold out, as the people of India are shouting that this government is selling out all the government institute to the others. But in London in 17th century, everything was chartered, and it has been written in the London. Those who want to read the poem by William Blake, in the very first line of the London, that I wander through each chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow. Now the Thames, the river itself has been sold out. That's the
Correct.
height of, that is the satirical height of the poet. And you can
Mm,
find out
mm,
who will accept this poet to be the poet laureate.
true.
He would be sidelined, obviously. And mark in every face I meet, marks of weakness, marks of woe. That's a wonderful, the striking hit on the head of the entire privatization of London. That each face marks with marks of weakness, marks of woe. Everybody is having something wrong in their heart. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind forged manacles I hear. Mind forged manacles. Mind forged manacles means man made, problem for the another man. That we are creating problem for the another man. How the chimney sweepers cried, that we have read about the poem. Every blackening church appalls, and hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace wall. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlots curse, blast the newborn infant's tear, and blights with plague the marriage hears. Hersey, you can say. Now see that much clear-cut picture of London you will never find in anybody's words. And we have the person who has seen the London with her own eyes. Madam, how far you can see that he is justifying the place itself?
Very much. I think in that terms, if we see that humanities, I mean, London or England has not moved forward in terms of being so much money centered. But of course, the streets are no longer chartered. It's very democratized now.
But you don't know who is owing the right of the street. You have to be in the municipality of London to know about, or to the this parliament. But
Yes.
but but this one thing, Partha, good question that you have asked, and good thing that you asked me to read. I hope I can take 2 minutes for this.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Very very ugly thing that I could make out from the history of colonization of India, and you people know that I had a very very deep reading of this Indian colonization because of my research. One thing we have been never taught, and that is going to come in our teaching now, that it was not a fight between two empires or the kings and queens that have been taught in our history books, that our kings were defeated by the Britishers and all. If you see very clearly, madam, this is for your positive vision of Britain,
No, it's
that
not positive, but because of we know after colonization, why they've opened the gates, because they want to mint money by our presence there. It's like the cosmopolite culture of Britain is just because they know they cannot live in absolute isolation of the world, and that's why they are opening their gates to people. It's not like by democratization, I was not talking about the sense of being inclusive. They are not so much inclusive if you go and want to settle down there or want to make money from their money. They are open if you are going to, willing to spend from your pocket. That is what
True.
their democracy is.
True.
Or
Now the gist you have got, you helped me out to bring out the gist. Parsvai, uh,
Yes.
till 1857, if you remember the history, and I don't know why we have never given the idea that why they had to transfer the power from the company to the crown.
Hmm.
And nobody, no historian, no stupid or idiot historian even took the pain to explain it clearly to us. I must tell you, and that I came to know from one of the historian from the Palestine.
Hmm.
uh, and from his history I came to know that it is our stupid historian that has made this all the muddle, that we are not getting the grasp of the history perfectly. That first thing that happened in India was not the fight between the kings and queens, or the empire and the Indian empire and the British empire. It was the fight between the business community of Britain and the business community of India. Now you would be having the question, sir, what is the logic behind it? I give you best
Hmm.
example. I tell you that we human are superior to other creatures on the planet Earth because of our communication and collaboration. Are you agree with
Hmm.
me?
Hmm. Hmm. Correct.
It is only because we collaborate we are dominating. Otherwise, you have the example of Sardar Patel Stadium, the biggest stadium of the world, full of chimpanzees and full of human beings. If you put human beings, it would be celebrating. And if you put chimpanzee, it would be chaos. All right.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you put yourself on the island along with the chimpanzee. I would be with the chimpanzee that he would survive better than ourselves.
Hmm.
All right. So,
Correct.
but when we are together, we are becoming powerful. Now, in that case, if you take the cue from that in the Britain, the business was collaborated with the advancement of British East India Company, the charter that was passed in 1600. Why we are reading the histories, for the first time I came to know that it was because of charter they had the joint stock company. Right now we may be complaining about Adani and Ambani, but do we ask our parents that how many stock exchange stocks they have in the case of Reliance and Adani? Because of your investment only Dhirubhai become Dhirubhai. Otherwise, if you don't go to the stock market and invest into the Reliance would be null and zero. The same way, Britishers started this practice far before Indian businessmen. Stupid Indian businessmen never came to know that what they are doing. And this link reaches to the height when Napoleon termed Britain as the country of shopkeepers. Napoleon himself had to say that Britain is nothing but a country or nation of shopkeepers. And that makes it entire case clear that till 1857, when there was the first revolt of independence, it was ruled by these people who, that you can say, the businessman, the
Hmm.
company. And then after there came the crown to rule us. And then what
Correct.
crown did, that that is the history.
Yeah.
I hope this voice, the same voice of Paine, is in the voice of poetry written by William Blake.
William
I,
Blake.
I'm sorry I have crossed my time, but as you people encourage me to bring out the
No,
factual
no, that's
aspect there,
okay.
and it is one of the reason. I don't have any favorable terms with the William Blake, but this is the fact that makes me respect him, that
Hmm.
he was able to speak the right things.
True.
Yes. Anything else now?
Over to you, Bhakti Didi.
yeah, I think the participants don't have any more questions or observations. So we would like to call it a day, but before that, we would be thanking Sir. Sir, you have actually put it in a very wider perspective, the entire transition and in the backdrop of industrial revolution and all. You brought in so many other perspectives from the history, you provided perspectives from colonial angle, historical angle, cultural angle. So I think it sets the tone for the next lectures, series of lectures on Romantic era, and we would be rather looking forward to connect the points that you have given to the, and I mean, be able to see it coming to the front force of the creative writings of the senior and junior romantics that we are going to discuss. Thank you very much, sir, for setting such a good background and introducing us to the range of poets who were precursors or pre-thinkers of romantic era. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear participants. Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.